Good evening, you're watching Current Issues. I'm Vineet Malhotra. The connivance and deception displayed at the recently held Rajya Sabha elections in Haryana is not only shocking and appalling, but it also relegates the pious upper house in bad light. The conspiracy is now vividly visible through surveillance videos, and the audacity of the culprits reeks of malice and arrogance. Asim Goel spent almost a minute ticking the candidate's name, whereas the average time taken by all the other voters was found to be approximately 5 seconds. From the looks of it, one thing is very clear, that this entire episode was well conspired, well thought out, and equally well executed. But the overconfident ones always leave clues behind, and that's what we debate today on Current Issues. And you can share your opinion with us on Twitter using the hashtag RSPolsgate and hashtag Current Issues. With me on the show are Tom Vadakan, sports spokesperson for the Congress, Vivek Narayan Sharma, advocate with the Supreme Court, and we will also be joined by Sanjay Kapoor, who's the editor of Hard News. But before we delve into this debate, let's have a look at this bite.
पेन तो हमें उन्होंने भेजा है, इलेक्टोरल ऑफिसर हैं। मैं वेरी गुड, मैं कहा कितने पेन भेजे? कहने लगे 2। मैं कहा कब आए आपके पास? तो कहने लगा जी 9 तारीख को। पहले तो कहा उसने 10 तारीख को। अच्छा रिकॉर्ड चेक करो भी कब आया? उन्होंने कहा जी 9 तारीख को। जब साबित हो गया कि 9 तारीख को आया, मैंने कहा कोई एंट्री की आपने? जी नहीं की। तो मैंने कभी कहीं आपने उसको सील किया? जी नहीं किया। तो मैंने कहा आपने ये पेन कहीं अपनी सेफ कस्टडी में रखे? जी नहीं रखे, मैंने तो नीचे भेज दिए थे। तो मैंने कहा जब आप पेन ऊपर लेकर आए तो सबसे पहले पेन को आपको सील करके खोलना चाहिए, खोल करके पेन को दिखाना चाहिए कि जी ये पेन है, मैं पेन को इस तरीके से रस्सी से मैं ऐसे बांध रहा हूँ।
Well, absolutely. This also challenges our intelligence, and let me bring in Vivek Narayan Sharma on this. Considering this from a legal point of view, Vivek, let's imagine that this pen was the reason why some of those votes were disqualified, because they felt that the ink that was used, it was different from the one prescribed or the one that was designated in the first place. Secondly, if a pen is of such importance, such integral value, why was it not registered? Why was it not kept in a proper safe place where it could not, why was it not tied to a rope probably, so that that same pen could be used over and over again for ticking?
Yeah, means they should have secured pen. In this matter, the pen was an integral part for the proper and fair election. It should have been secured properly so that nobody could alter the character of pen at all, either the ink or any refill, or could have changed, as it seems from the facts and from the video that Mr. Asim Goel took 47 seconds to really cast his vote.
To just
despite
make a
the
check
fact
mark,
that everything was
exactly, just to make a tick mark, Mr. Vadakan, he took 47 seconds. And as we have already spoken, that the average time spent by each voter in that booth was not more than give or take 8 seconds.
Well, I think that was the real giveaway, and I think the visuals show him that he had bent down, and what he did there, the pens were replaced according to our understanding, because there were two pens. One was purple and the other was almost similar. Now the difference of the color cannot be seen by normal eyesight. You need special lights for that. So the fact that the operation was done in connivance with some of the officials there also gets established, because this particular place is sanitized. Now the issue about whether the pen was released on the 9th or 10th, obviously they had full knowledge, and the operation was a conspiracy lined up between the election authorities there and the invested interest. I think it's an appropriate case where proper investigation should be done to expose the culprits, because there was one Mr. Goel who replaced the pen again.
Absolutely.
So the time taken, this is literally smoking, this goes beyond the scope of a smoking gun. This is like smoking gun evidence, not circumstantial, because everything, the camera is absolutely candid.
All right. Okay. Before we, go to Sanjay Kapoor, let's, once again look at what Mr. R.K. Anand has to add.
भाई ये 10 तारीख को कौन कौन आया यहाँ बताओ ना जरा। तो कहा जी किसकी बात करें आप? तो उन्होंने कहा जी वो जी टीवी वाला वो सुभाष चंद्र जी की। हाँ हाँ। कहा जी उनके तो 8 आदमी और सुभाष चंद्र जी 3 बार वहाँ आए और 5:30 बजे 6 साढ़े 6 बजे तक वो वहीं रहे। ऑफिस बंद हो गया तब भी वो वहीं रहे। 10 तारीख को एक दिन पहले। और पूरी और जानकारी मिली। देखिए सारे आदमी मिक्सअप नहीं होते हैं कॉन्स्पिरेसी में। एक आदमी होगा, 2 आदमी होंगे, ऐसा नहीं होता। कभी का सबको कॉन्फिडेंस में लिया जाता है और सच को छुपाया नहीं जा सकता। ये आज की डेट में ये छुपाना कि सुभाष चंद्रा का वहाँ जाना और 6:30 बजे तक वहाँ रहना, ये कोई छुपा नहीं सकता है। तो उसके बाद पता चला कि सुभाष चंद्रा जी इनके कमरे में, नंदल साहब कमरे में 1.5 घंटा बैठ के आए हैं। वो चपड़ासी ने चाय पिलाई है और जिसने चाय पिलाई है, जिसे और बंदे हैं, वो सारी दुनिया से बात कर रहे हैं।
Okay, let me bring in Sanjay Kapoor now. Sanjay, you heard what Mr. R.K. Anand had to say. Needless to mention that everyone can smell a rat as to what went on before the day of the election. How can a candidate go to the site where the election is supposed to happen, have a conversation with the people who are supposed to conduct that particular election, have 8 of his goons present along with him so that they can scope how brilliantly they can conduct this fraud and then also get away with it?
No, all this is pointing to a much larger game than what has been made out to be. And what is really troubling is that the Election Commission, although got both the representatives of the candidates to see the video footage yesterday, and that in a certain way provided evidence of how it could have been manipulated. I think what Election Commission needs to do is to go a step further and set up an inquiry of impartial observer, people who do a forensic on the evidence that is there, watching the CCTV footage, ensuring that the good name that Election Commission have doesn't get tarred by what has happened in the Rajya Sabha election. I was reading The Economist, and there too the manner in which the ink episode has figured also finds mention in the magazine. So it is not something that is confined to Indian readers. The happenings on that particular day are become a global issue, and it really shows the entire process in very poor light. So there is, it's imperative that something so, I mean, it was a creative conspiracy, if you can call it that way, because never before the ink issue or ink was used, was changed, the manner in which it did happen in so many elections. But this time around it was crafted in a manner which has actually taken everybody's breath away, and similar kind of devices could be used in the future to contaminate the electoral process. So it is imperative that the entire Rajya Sabha poll which has happened, especially I mean the polling that took place to elect Mr. Subhash Chandra, should be put through a scanner, through a microscope, and to ensure that there are nobody who's raising a finger on this case.
Okay, let me bring in Vivek Narayan Sharma again on this. We have spoken about, the circumstantial evidence, being, it's gone, more than being circumstantial evidence, Vivek. What are the penalties that we are looking at if a probe is conducted and these individuals, which we have named, are found guilty of conspiring to malign and in fact affect the upper house election in whichever way possible?
Yeah. You see, there can be 2 different kind of possibilities in this case. One is Election Commission conducts an inquiry, and if found guilty, then Election Commission takes suitable steps. The lost candidate, the returning candidate's election can be challenged by the by any of the candidate here. And
but do you really think the body that allegedly seems to have conspired with the conspirators?
No, I understand, but law has to take its own process. Something cannot be decided on.
Well, the returning officer Nandal has already said that everything is clear. There was no hanky-panky that happened.
No, then the question arises is whether to challenge in the court of law or not. Then the roads for challenging the actions of Election Commission in court of law is very much there in the hand of the losing candidate. Mr. R.K. Anand can file a petition, election petition. And this amounts to be a corrupt practices as per the Representation of People's Act. If all these things are probed and proved, then this would amount to be a corrupt practice, and then this election can be declared as void.
Surely, it should be countermanded. And, Asim Goel has played a pivotal role in somehow making this conspiracy a success for the victors of this particular poll. Let's hear what Mr. R.K. Anand has to say about him.
इन्होंने वीडियो फुटेज दिखाई, तो मैंने कहा ये वीडियो फुटेज तो आप आगे ले जाओ भैया, जहाँ डिस्प्यूटेड है सीधा आ जाओ ना असीम गोयल पे, उस पर करो कंसंट्रेट। तो जो मैंने इसको किया कंसंट्रेट, तो पहले तो उसका फेस दिखाया, मैंने कहा इसका फेस देखो कितना कंफ्यूज आदमी है। और पहली बात यह है कि सुबह से लेके अभी तक ये जेपी के साथ में था, इसने बीजेपी के साथ में वोट क्यों नहीं डाली, ये अब क्यों इंतजार कर रहा है इस बात की। उसे पता है कि बीजेपी की सारी वोट पड़ गई हैं, एक कैप्टन अभिमन्यु रह गया है और एक जेपी उसके साथ कॉन्स्पिरेटर है, इसलिए वो रुका हुआ है। उसे पता है कि अब कांग्रेस के वोट आने वाले हैं। तो मैंने कहा इसको इस एंगल से एग्जामिन करो कि ये कितना टाइम लगेगा इस पेन को, ये देखिए ना, ये जो लगा के इधर से ये लगा के ये ऐसे अगर हो तो कितना टाइम लगेगा पेन को चेंज करने में। ये देखिए, इसको हटा के ये पेन जो है ये यहाँ ये लगा देना, ये लीजिए, कितना टाइम लगेगा देखिए आप, ये नॉट मोर देन 2 सेकेंड्स 3 सेकेंड्स। तो ये गोयल ने अंदर 50 सेकेंड के करीब वहाँ लगाए हैं। अभी तक हमने फुटेज पूरा एग्जामिन किया, प्रेम ऑफिसर जो कल बताया जी 50 सेकेंड लगाए, तो 50 सेकेंड तक ये क्या करते रहे, इनके आप इसकी मूवमेंट को वॉच करो, इसके पैर भी हिल रहे हैं और बाकी सबकी मूवमेंट देखिए कि क्या है।
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Vadakan in once again. And Asim Goel is one person who's, under a lot of suspicion because of the way he spent about 50 seconds in that booth, whereas Mr. R.K. Anand just said that 2 to 3 seconds was the average amount of time that was required. What kind of a criminal bent of mind would you want to have, or would you have, to actually be so audacious and intrepid enough, to pull through such a fantastic, hoax?
Well, I think they had the time on their side. Subhash Chandra was in the premises on the 10th with his team, and a dry run may have been planned, because this is not something that can be done at the spur of the moment without the connivance of the electoral officers. Now, the whole process, one thing which has come to my knowledge, that Mr. Subhash Chandra was the first person who raised this complaint, that asked the validity of if any other pen is used, what would be the consequence. And he's told by the election officer that if any other pen is used, it would be invalid. So then his next contention was that we would like to, you would have to examine the color of the ink. Now, how did an outsider who was in the know of all this? So it's basically, it zooms down to one reality, that he is the interested party, he's a stakeholder, it is his people who did it, they had the time and they had the motive. So I think it fits in like a T to establish that Subhash Chandra's vote should be invalidated, his candidature should be invalidated, and a repoll should be done in due fairness. But I think if this matter is taken to court, whoever takes it, I think there is enough evidence to establish connivance, because Mr. JP is the last person who went in, and after that votes became, all of them voted correctly. That means he has replaced the pen, and he also spent some more time than the allocated time. So it clearly establishes the motive and the chain of events that took place there.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll take a short break at this point in time, but when we come back, we will tell you what the legal perspective and what a journalistic perspective is going to be on this particular development. We'll be right back.
अंदर गए, आप देख लो, उसका वोट डाला है और बाहर आ रहे हैं, वोट डाला है और बाहर आ रहे हैं, वोट डाले और बाहर आ रहे हैं। और मेरा ख्याल है विदिन 7-8 मिनट्स सारे कांग्रेसी जितने भी थे 13 के 13 उन्होंने वोट डाल दिया। उसके बाद में बीच में जेपी घुस जाता है। भैया जेपी को पूछो कि तू सुबह तक तो इंतजार करता रहा, तुम्हें बीच में घुसने की क्या जरूरत है जब तक कांग्रेस के वोट पड़ते हैं। बहरहाल बीच में घुसा, वहीं पेन चेंज हुआ, चेंज होने में क्या होता है, उसके बाद कितने वोट रह गए थे, 3, 2 रह गए आपके कुलदीप जी के, और एक रह गए एक और है मेरे ख्याल है, एक और हैं कांग्रेस के, और एक आपका अभिमन्यु, तो अगिता भुकल रहेगी, कुलदीप शर्मा का भी वोट वैलिड है, तो ये जेपी का वोट तो वैलिड है ही है, तो जेपी का वोट वैलिड कैसे हो गया?
Well, it's a cause of great suspicion that when Mr. Hasim Goyal changed the pen, after that all the votes until JP comes in were disqualified, and the 3 or 2 votes that were pending, Sanjay, happened to be all right. You know, what I want to talk about is whether the BJP is going to get into some sort of a pickle because of keeping quiet on this agenda, and if it's proven one way or the other that there was a conspiracy, there was, you know, a malignant episode iota present in this particular episode, how is the BJP going to save face?
No. If it is actually proved in a court of law, or this election commission is able to prove that there was indeed a corrupt practice where the pen was changed as the visuals are showing, then the BJP will have to, take the flag, and because they are party to whatever has happened.
Right.
So it is all right to stay quiet, because the burden of proving that there was a corrupt practice lies entirely on Mr. R.K. Anand and the Congress party which is supporting. And so in that particular sense, the BJP can, just stay quiet and hope that, this storm will pass. But if what Tom has said and R.K. Anand ji has said, there is a clear evidence of the entire chain, of conspiracy, because when you have a conspiracy, many different parts of it start showing up in different ways. So it's very clear that something like this has happened. If Mr. Goyal was spending 50-60 seconds there inside, compared to everybody spending 3 to 4 seconds and getting out, so questions have to be asked, what did you do? And there is also clear evidence of 13 Congress MLAs getting disqualified because of the way they signed or they cast their vote. So surely, I mean, there is a lot to ponder, there is a lot to look at it, and I'm sure if Election Commission gets top experts to go through the CCTV footage and the entire manner in which things happened, it will be clear as day as to what has happened.
Okay, Vivek, what do you think? Should an independent committee be appointed to look into this matter? Because, the kind of criminality and the kind of, cleverness that we are seeing, I mean, Sherlock Holmes is going to have sleepless nights.
Not Sherlock Holmes, there are better, worse name in the world, but I will not say anything on this. Because we are just anticipating something. Prima facie, it seems there has been something which is very grave in nature. If it is done, it is totally damaging to the democracy that we are having here, because these are the people who are lawmakers, and if they are going to come in such fashion and thereafter they are going to make law, we never know what kind of laws they are going to
break
make.
The law, then they want to make the law.
Certainly means it's not about making the law, then it's about breaking the law. If these kind of, so it is a very, very serious matter. Number one. Number two, whether the one question comes in my mind, whether such a technicality, the ink issue, should come in the way of assessing the validity of vote, because this is something which is very serious. 12 persons voted in favor of one particular candidate, and after that their votes were discarded for one reason only, because the ink use was totally different. They did not take out any other pen, as is evident from this clipping. They just picked up that pen which was lying
which
there.
is lying over there.
So such a technicality should come in a way. The court has to decide on this. The court will have to decide on this also, and I will plead whoever is going to file the petition.
But instead of disqualifying those MLAs, don't you think the ball should be put in the Election Commission's court, because they are responsible for a fair election?
Must do when there is a serious doubt which has been raised, and with certainty that 47 seconds were put by some person.
Right.
Despite the
when
fact
you only need 3 seconds.
All other are taking some 4 to 5 seconds or maybe 5 to 10 seconds.
Right.
Then 47 seconds by somebody, what is that person doing?
Absolutely. And the list goes on. Let's hear into Mr. R.K. Anand once again.
ये इलेक्शन नहीं है। रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर जो इन्होंने बनाया है वो फिट नहीं है इस पोजीशन के लिए। कभी विधानसभा के में अंदर राज्यसभा के इलेक्शन कराने के लिए कभी विधानसभा के आदमी को बिठाना नहीं चाहिए इलेक्शन के अंदर, क्योंकि वो हमेशा कहीं ना कहीं किसी का साथ होगा, बायस होता है, होगा वो तो। और उसको पहली बात है एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है। बताइए क्या एक्सपीरियंस है उसके बाद? तुमने ये नहीं पता कि राज्यसभा का इलेक्शन इस पेन से करवा रहे हो जो मार्केट में 2 रुपये का अवेलेबल पेन है, और आप इस तरीके से बांध रहे हो। यहाँ तो मैं समझ सकता हूँ कि तुम इसको यहाँ से सराख करके काट के अच्छी तरीके से तो रस्सी से बांध भैया, ताकि वो पेन निकले नहीं। तो सारा दारोमदार तो इंक पर है। जब रूल 39 में लिखा हुआ है कि जी एक ही पेन से लगाना है, एक ही शाही से लगाना है, तो भैया वो तो पेन फिर बड़ा महत्व हो गया ना। अगर आपने उस पेन को सील नहीं किया, उस पेन को प्रॉपर्ली रखा नहीं, तो ये कहना कि जी मैंने एआरओ को वहाँ बिठा दिया था, एआरओ क्या करेगा? इस पेन का रंग भी वही है, इस पेन का रंग भी वही है। ये टिप फॉर को निशाना का आगे थोड़ी देख रहा है। और रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर साहब जब बैलेट देख रहे हैं तो उनका रंग में फर्क नजर नहीं आ रहा है उनको, तो अपने साथ एआरओ को कहते हैं जरा लाइट डाल इस पे, जरा लाइट डाल के, फिर भी नहीं पता चल रहा। कहता है यार एक वैलिड वोट निकाल, और निकाल के फिर दोनों को कंपेयर कर, तो दोनों को कंपेयर करके कहते हैं इनवैलिड है।
Okay, Mr. Vatakan, you think that the Election Commission, has some sort of a role to play in terms of, the failure, the complete collapse of this election process? And do you think that they are culpable in some way or the other, like Mr. R.K. Anand just pointed out?
Well, there are excruciating evidences to establish linkages. Whether this has directly a link to the Election Commission will have to be established by further investigation. Because the question is, there are these people who are entering the sanitized area. Mr. Subhash Chandra, he has been there a day before with 8 people. What was their business there? A. B. The whole business of looking at the ink using additional light, because it's clearly established that by normal viewership or your normal vision, you cannot identify the color difference. But when Mr. Subhash Chandra insists that light should be used to check, clearly indicates he knew in advance what had transpired. That is where it's a giveaway. And I think Election Commission will have to take responsibility for not conducting a free and fair election. And I think any court where it is examined will see through the game, and I think justice will hopefully be done.
Well, that's a fair point. He was there a day before. He spent a lot of time, in fact, doing a recce of the area. And once the election was completed, he also knew what were the flaws to look into. So that means that there was a big conspiracy that was hashed in his mind. And let's listen to Mr. R.K. Anand once more.
सुभाष चंद्र ने जाके वहाँ नक्शा बनाया है। बताइए जी बैलेट कहाँ रखेंगे, आप कहाँ बैठोगे, हम कहाँ बैठेंगे, ये कहाँ बैठेंगे, पूरा नक्शा बना के लेके आए। बताओ अभी ये किस लिए, मुझे तो समझ नहीं आती है। लोकसभा का चुनाव तो है नहीं, आप वोटर नहीं हो, आप आउटसाइडर हो, तो आप क्यों करोगे ये सारे काम? ये सारे सस्पिशियस सर्कमस्टांसेस जो नज़र आ रहे हैं ना, ये क्लियर कट दे पॉइंट फिंगर ऑफ ए कॉन्स्पिरेसी ऑन सुभाष चंद्रा, ऑन जेपी, ऑन नंदल। नंदल को इमीडिएटली अपने आप को ट्रांसफर कराना चाहिए यहाँ। ही इज़ लाइकली टू टेम्पर द रिकॉर्ड। मैं बता दूं कि इस वीडियो में टेम्पर भी है, इन्होंने वीडियो को कट किया।
अच्छा, वीडियो देखा आपने?
ये मैंने उस वक्त ही कह दिया था कि एडिट है, अशोक तंवर ने भी कहा था ये एडिटेड वीडियो है। वीडियो में उन्होंने लास्ट पोर्शन काटा है, क्योंकि ऑफिशियल वीडियो में कई चीज़ें और भी आई थी सुभाष चंद्र को मिठाई देते हुए।
Sanjay Kapoor, coming to you. Well, Subhash Chandra is the name that is popping up. Well, he seems to be, the main reason behind this conspiracy. What do you think? He's got a lot of FIRs, under his kitty already. The way he's approached this particular episode, it seems to be that he's very intrepid about it. He doesn't give a damn. His arrogance is probably evident in the fact that, he wanted to check the papers under a certain light to be sure whether the ink used for those 12 votes was the regular ink or not. Matlab, what more does, the investigating agencies need to actually incriminate the people who we are talking about?
You know, the thing is that Mr. Subhash Chandra had the benefit of some good advice on how to go about it. In the absence of that kind of advice, he would not have done, or he would not have choreographed whatever happened. The reason that he came a day earlier, he checked out on who will sit where, he checked out on the quality of ink. Those are the questions that only come to people who are probably insiders, who can bring about a certain kind of manipulation, or those who have the wherewithal and the technology to bring about all that. So the fact that he came a day earlier only shows that he knew what had to be done, and there was apparently a certain amount of softening that has happened. I think it's a interesting conspiracy to for the Election Commission to ensure this kind of manipulation does not take place. They have to clear the air, they have to clear the doubt, and when somebody with the background of Mr. Subhash Chandra comes and fights an election, I mean, we should be all prepared for how the entire system can wilt under pressure.
Okay, we
His
don't have much
proximity
time.
with the BJP
We don't have much
government
time
is,
at this point in time. I would like to thank my guest Vivek. Thank you so much for coming to the studio and talking to us. And of course, Mr. Vadakan, glad that you could spare your thoughts. And Sanjay Kapoor, always a pleasure having you on the show. That is all we have on current issues today. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.